So we're moving on. Actually, I'm here because I need to work on things up. You can come forward. Shahar panel. Usually our conferences are very technical. This is the first time what we try to talk about the soft skills. When I studied information security, it was like 30 years ago. If you knew TCP/IP, you're good for information security. That's pretty much the basic thing to do. Now we are evolving, not only technical knowledge, you need to also manage your way inside the organization. So this is what Shahar will be discussing. Shahar, have your guest.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me? All right, so I think that all our panelists can join, take the stage, and let's start the panel. My name is Shahar. I'm a CISO at Fullpath. We deal with car dealerships in the US, selling marketing solutions. And with AI all around us, I think it's a great example, a great opportunity to talk about something that is still human in nature, and that's soft skills. And I think that with most conferences are dealing mostly with technology, we wanted to take this opportunity and go back and talk about our differentiators and our ability as human beings to actually do what we do most of the time as CISOs, and that's dealing with persons and personas, and sometimes very annoying. And part of what we do is to try and motivate others to better protect our organizations. And I think that even stuff like prioritizing bugs or fixing bugs, it's something that is often very, very difficult. Allocating budgets, a lot of the stuff that we do is mostly around humans and not around technology. Another thing is that in a sense, we as CISOs needs to have more EQ than IQ, and I think that stands for most of us here, especially on stage. But this is a very important quality, to try and motivate others. And I think that we go from social workers in some cases to Mossad agents trying to recruit people in our own organization to practice security. And this is also very difficult and very complicated to do. So this panel with these distinguished guests, some of them, we're going to discuss this. And I think we're missing one, by the way, Anat, if she joins later on. So we'll start without her. And if she wants, she can join later. Sorry. So let's start with a short introduction. So grab a mic, and let's start the round from left to right. All right?
All right. Pleasure to be here. The name is Liran Sheinbox. I'm the CISO of a company called BrainRocket. Actually, it's not operating from Israel. I'm based in Europe. Before being a CISO of BrainRocket, I was a VP Security and CISO of Playtika, a global company in the form of gaming. Now I translated myself into the iGaming world, which is more fascinating, I would say. Managing 40 employees in security practices across all verticals, 22 years of experience. Consider myself pretty technical officer. Also, in my second position, I'm a director and a member of a venture capital called Kmihin, where we invest in cybersecurity startups. We put an emphasis of them being in Israeli startups. That's it.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Nir. I'm the CISO of a payments company called Rapyd with a Y. And you should go next. So yeah, and I'm excited to talk about soft skills. As you can see, there's nothing soft about me. Just kidding. I was waiting to make that joke since he announced the subject of the panel, because I'm hard. That's all I have to say.
Hi, my name is Anat Orgad, and I'm from the INCD, Israel National Cyber Directorate. For the last 3 years, I've been the head of guidance and regulation. I'm sorry. I'm catching up my breath. for the health sector and the national critical infrastructure body in Israel.
My name is Moran. Can you hear me? Okay, I will try with this one. Thank you. So my name is Moran Shalom. I am the CISO of HoneyBook. I've been a CISO for the last 8 years in fintech SaaS companies worldwide. Before that, I'm practicing cybersecurity for the last 14 years, starting from the Israeli army to consultancy, and then a CISO.
Hello, I'm Dikla Ramot. I'm the CISO of AppsFlyer for the past 5 years. Prior to that, I was in the infrastructure world, DevOps, for the past 20 years almost.
Amazing. All right, let's start with a warm-up. What's the single one soft skill you didn't have, you need, and was crucial to your work when you first started as a security officer?
I can go first. From my end, I think that the skill is empathy, the ability to put yourself in one's shoes and understand the way he looks at things, his priorities, what's at stakes for him. And I think it's critical because as a CISO, you have to be very political with the ability to manage when you're not really managing and push things and push priorities that you cannot execute on your own. So knowing that you can build a trust based on that empathy is a critical thing.
I'll add to that. I think that timing as well. So knowing when to raise something, not only throwing all the risks on the board or throwing all the risks to management and tell them everything, but timing is very important as well.
So you asked when we started, right? So when I started, I was an idiot. I didn't know anything. What are you talking, empathy? I didn't know what that meant when I started. You know how dumb I was? Look how dumb I am now. So I was like 10 years, I'm only doing this for 3 years. I'm a rock star. You guys are 20-year-old. No, I'm doing it for a while, but when I started, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what empathy meant. The only thing that powered me through was my good looks. Is that a soft skill? No, just kidding. It's English. It's 100%. Kind of. The humor never helped. Everybody's like, stop making jokes. The English was big. I literally had a boss that's like, let me write every email he had because I had good English. Because it's important. Today, ChatGPT would have killed me. Like I would never, ever get out of an analyst role today. But back then, English was big, so that was the soft skill that helped me out.
I think for me it was like inner serenity, like peacefulness. Because I think when shit hits the fans, everyone go crazy. And people pay me also to be crazy, right? To bring, the chaos or try to get the people to sense the urgency of things. But when shit hits the fans, you do want to calm things down because you do need to look around and understand what's the major parts that you need to put focus in and not drive everyone insane with like the fires that are right now needs to be handled. So I think that one is one of the major things that I understand, that you need to control the tempo and then also try to direct the ship to where do you want it to be.
First of all, there are so many soft skills that you realize that you need to have. The most important one was how to change complexity to something that is more clarity in all aspects. If it's an incident, if it's everyday life, is it like by telling a storytelling and to adjust it to the person you're talking to or the situation you're in. That's the most important skill I think that I learned to have.
Okay, I think that's a great caveat to continue talking about incidents. What's the top crucial characteristic that you think is needed for a CISO during an incident? And I can even add on top of that, what can go wrong if you're using the wrong, or making the wrong decisions or taking the wrong turns during an incident, which is very, very critical.
So I can start. I would say emotional regulation. So I found out that, it's not found out, but people mirror each other. So it's usually when you panic, other people panic. When you're calm, other people has more clarity about what's happened, and they are calmer as well. And they know how to do things the right way, and you know how to regulate their emotions as well. So I think that what you bring to the table, the emotional, if you can regulate your emotion and try to be calm during the incident, it will be better for everyone for the incident management.
But sometimes you need to be more aggressive, right? You need to push to make stuff moving forward.
It doesn't mean that you are not assertive. It means that you're doing it calmly and not in panic.
I think that I can add to that the ability to think long distance. During an incident, many times you want to bring things up, do it as quickly as possible, no matter what. But many times you find yourself in a situation where making the right choices, meaning taking a minute, thinking for the long run, understanding what building blocks you can put now for the future. And I found that in many incidents is something that's very critical.
I think drop the ego. I think, again, when we have some sort of a situation, a big part of me wants to blame someone, wants to put a focus on something that, messed up and try to understand how we can fix it. But when we have a big incident, we would like to have everyone in line and try to focus on how solving things. Take responsibility, by the way, also from my perspective, if I screwed up, right, and not blame myself or not at least cover my ass in things that I'm sure that maybe contributed to the incident. So dropping the ego, trying not to blame everyone, trying to understand how we can solve this incident in the fastest amount of time, and be responsible.
It's a lot of being creative, to think out of the box and to realize how to deal with the situation, how to solve the problem. That's the most important thing, I think, in most situation. I'm sure you all will agree with me with that, right?
They say that a good panel is to disagree, so I disagree with you. Yeah, I do. I think we should stop being generic, guys. Let's be real. Who wants me to be real? Okay, I had 2 big incidents. I'm not waiting for you to give me permission. I'm going to be real. One, when I was in NSO, they stole the Pegasus. Whoever knows what that is. I was supposed to protect it. They stole it. And 2, a month ago, North Korea hacked Rapyd. And that sucked. And they hacked the DevOps in Rapyd. And we had to deal with that. And I got to tell you that the question is a problem here, because there's not one skill. It's not one skill. When you have a real incident, you got to have all the skills. And the difference between a good CISO and a bad CISO is the bad CISO has one skill. He's like, oh, I'm creative, but I don't know how to be assertive. But I have empathy, but I don't know how to use it. And you have to use everything. So
you need to adjust.
You have to adjust, and the way to adjust is to have the skills, because if you don't have the skills, you can't adjust. So when I was 7 years ago when they stole Pegasus, I was just a panicking little boy. And today I'm a man. So with North Korea, I really felt, I was like, it kind of sucks, but I'm doing amazing. I was so happy with my performance, because it's an international event, and we had teams in Iceland, and some people here know how much I appreciate my Icelandic employees, and they're very emotional, and it's happening. And then you talk to like the SOC team, and they're like, what are you talking about? And you have to deal with all these emotions. And then there's management, and you need to know if you want to go to the regulator, and there's all this, and forensics, and you got to deal with everybody, and you have to have the best skills. So if you're just gonna, if my gun is humor, which I don't know if you guys noticed, but it is, I don't know if you noticed. So if that's my only gun, so I'm gonna fail. I gotta have a lot of skill sets, And that's why soft skills are so important if you want to be a CISO. If you don't want to be a CISO, just get good at Terraform or Kali Linux or whatever you want to do. But if you want to be a CISO, you got to have the full package. Otherwise, when the real incidents happen, you're going to suck, and it's going to be so evident. So there's one thing is just quit. If you want one thing, just resign and go do something else.
Go fishing. Okay, so I think I totally agree, by the way. I think that the full package is very important, and you're constantly adapting. If it's a very dynamic situation, very stressful, sometimes you need to be very, very assertive. Sometimes be compassionate and talk with patient zero to not to put the shame on them and try to make them reveal as much information they can before we fire them. Because they caused this huge incident. But we need to have it all, I think. I totally agree with that. Something else. During incidents, there are a lot of technical stuff that we need to handle. How do we communicate technical stuff to non-technical persons? It sometimes can be a huge obstacle. How do you deal with that, especially during incidents?
So you're basically asking about our ability to tell a story, and I think that's relevant not just in incidents, but in every day-to-day activity that we're doing. The ability to take a stakeholder, whether it's the CEO, a help desk employee, or the most technical guy, and adjust the story to be relevant for him. So the CEO would like to hear about what's happening in other companies and impact in other places sometimes. And the technical guy will like all the technical details. And the salesperson wants to hear about the sales implications. It's the same story behind, but you need to have the ability to adjust it so the person that you're talking to will relate to it as much, and then you'll have the cooperation.
And how do you do that? So if you just come to some dude and tell him a story, it's like, why are you telling me a story? I don't care about your story. Who cares about my story? So the way you have to talk to the stakeholder about what he's up against or she's up against. So that's, you got to set up the story. And then the story, the success rate is much higher. So if I come to the CEO and I'm like, oh, so what happened was that, they did remote code execution on the Linux server, and he's like, whoa, you lost me. But if what does CEO care about? What's he up against? Let's start with that. So you mentioned empathy. I think that's a key word for everything. But if you want to break it down into actionable things, start with what they're up against. Because the second an incident starts, if we're talking about incidents, you have to prove your worth again and again to anybody you talk to. So if you talk to the DevOps, what is he up against? He's up against working all night on your problem. He doesn't care. He's not security. He's not. He cares a little bit because it's his system. And if you talk to the CEO, he cares about other things. You have to think about what they care about. Start with that. Say, this is what you care about. This is what you're up against, and then connect your story to that. And if you can do what you want as a bridge to what they need. It sounds difficult, but you can do that. If that's how you tell the story, then you'll get a much higher success rate and response rate. So the key is to start with what they want, which is basically empathy.
So I agree with both of you. I think it's a combination of empathy and how to tell the story and humor maybe, and it depends on who you're speaking with. If it's the management, so you'll be more structure and more risks-oriented, business risk-oriented maybe. If it's a technical person, you might speak more technically or bring some expert maybe to help you with the story. So I think it's the whole package here as well.
But you tell them what they want to hear, or you try to translate it to a language they understand?
I think you're translating to a language that you both understand. So you're explaining the goals and the results that you want to bring to the table, and then you're creating together a plan of how to do that. They bring their domain expertise, you bring your domain expertise, and you create together, or maybe negotiate together on the right plan for the business.
Look how I'm nodding in empathy, by the way. I'm doing it very, very well.
I would like to add too. First of all, it's the art of storytelling, and you do need to know who you're telling it to. For example, if it's the administrative people, the staff, you need to learn how to talk to them. You don't talk to them in technology. You need to tell them, to give them the right analogy, the terminology of the organization that they understand, and then you talk to the IT person, the practitioners, and then you go higher up to the management and the CEO, and you talk to him with the business logic, the language he knows about, especially if it's about money, currency, how does it affect it, reputation, and so on, but less technical terminology.
Now it's budget time, before 2026. How do we communicate with management? How do we make sure we get the right budget? This is a big one, right?
You want me to start? I'm not here as a CISO, in a CISO role, but you do need to come with an enabler thinker to show the management that you are very into initiatives and innovative things, and you can be an enabler, and maybe it will convince them to give you more budget and more money for security, to secure this.
Are we using the fear factor? How do we negotiate? How do we do it?
So there was a smart process that was done in Playtika. The IT and security did like steering committees with all business stakeholders and tried to understand what's their pain right now and what are they trying to do and solve for the next 2026. So this is like replacing everything around like offsites and stuff like that. And when the business pulled out their agenda and what they want to achieve, it's much, much easier to also present your budget, how to support it. So in that area, we usually had like a lot of conversation with the business, trying to understand how they reflect and how they're going to see the business running in 2026. From that point, trying to understand how we can protect it, and then present the budget, also with risks. If you want to protect this, we need a budget for that. If you want to protect that, we can drop it. This gets more clarity. Yeah, that's the main causes.
So requesting for a budget is an assertion. That means you're actively trying to take something from somebody. That's what it is. Before you're assertive, you need to. It's like a 1-2 punch. Before you punch, you gotta fake or whatever. If you take boxing or anything you want, before you shoot the ball in basketball, you gotta do a layup or anything like that. So before you assert, you gotta trickle in empathy. That if you just come and pitch and you tell a story, nobody cares about your story unless you get them in the mental state. I have a dirty little trick I love doing. Before I ask anything, you can steal this. I've been using this for years. Is I lower expectations. So I would come, let's say, for the budget meeting, I'll come to like the CEO, and I'm fortunate in Rapyd that I report to the CEO. So he's the one decision maker. I don't have to go through another C-level. And I'll say like, this is my budget for this year. I'm gonna go over it with you, and you're gonna hate it, and you're gonna think it's too much money. And I'm putting all of the thoughts in his head, and what I'm doing is I'm inoculating him. I'm removing these thoughts. I'm taking away his permission to think these thoughts. It's funny, but it works. I do it on my wife. I do it on my kids. I come to my kid. I'm like, I'm gonna ask you something. You're gonna hate me. You're gonna think of the worst dad ever. He's like, what do you want, Dad? I'm like, go clean your room. And now he's thinking, what is he thinking? He's thinking, oh my God, is he gonna adopt me now? Like, what's happening? And it works every time. My boss doesn't see it. My kids see it already. They're like, oh, shut up with your dumb. But my boss, I always come. What?
Shut up and take the budget.
No, my boss is like, what is it? What is it? Because he's a CEO. He's got a million things in mind. So if I say, I'm gonna make a request now, you're gonna hate it. He's like, are you going to ask me something weird? Like what? And then I'm like, no, I need money. And he's like, oh, okay. What do you need? So lower expectations. That's the number one trick. It's amazing. It works. You just practice it all the time. I practice that on the coffee guy now. I'm like, I'm going to ask you for something really weird. Can I have a coffee? And then he feels relieved. He's like, oh, that's it? Works amazing. Use it. Thank me later. So once you do that, and then you talk against what they're up against. Okay, by the way, that's their thoughts. So you remove these noisy thoughts, and then you help them focus on what they're up against. You're like, okay, you want to secure, just like Liran said, A, B, C, D. Here's how we get there. So then I remove the noisy thoughts. I agreed on a common goal, and then my method is the best way. That's a bridge to the common goal. When I am able to do those things successfully, then I'll get my budget approved every time, and it's going to be great. When I mess that up, then it doesn't go so great. So that's my key to success over the years, and it's been working pretty cool.
So first of all, I think you're gifted. Yeah, you're so funny. If I'll try to do it with my CEO, I think they won't give me a dime. So I'm not sure that will work for me.
Yeah, but it's tough.
But it will be funny. So from my end, for budget, I'm creating the whole plan of risk management along the year. I know that's boring, but we're managing risk matrix, and we're trying to mitigate risks with the budget. And when I'm asking for money, I feel the responsibility that I need to deliver. So I agree with you.
But do you have a slide of what if not slide?
Kind of, yeah, kind of. If we're not going to do this and that, or if we want to prioritize, we usually,
going to jail.
Yeah. You're going to have like a long list of budget requests, and then you will have like the second phase of, okay, prioritize this for the most important thing that you want from the budget list, what you can pass on. So usually it's a long process that takes a couple of months that you need to be you need to feel the responsibility of taking money from the company and doing something the right way with it, so you'll be able to deliver, and then you'll get the budget next year as well, because it's not just 1 year process, it's continuous process. And you need to be assertive, and you need to have the skill of storytelling. It's, again, all the skills together, but here it's specifically talking with high-level stakeholders that you need to explain and understand the business side very well in order to incorporate the security with the business.
So I perfectly agree. It's a long process. It's not just a one-time meeting. It's something that you create for a long time before in making the stakeholders understand the implications. I still remember today the first time that we issued a red team, and I saw that print screen of the database that contains the most sensitive data.
Did you feel good about that when it happened? Seriously, I mean, honestly, did you feel good when you saw a screenshot of your databases hacked by your red team?
It's a complex question because as a CISO, I want the red team to succeed. I also want them to fail, but I want them to succeed. And this is a conversation I happened to have just last week. If they fail, I don't feel comfortable with it. But I do want them to succeed, because then it creates a balance point and it creates a method for me to push things across the organization. But that feeling of that screenshot, I still feel it now. And I'm sure that the stakeholders, where I'm telling the story to, feels the same and feel the same. But you feel as if you're safe inside your house. And sometimes you need to make sure that management understand that they can not always feel safe inside their house. And there are a lot of tricks that you can pull in order to make that happen. So you can do a management session of incident, a cyber drill of that kind, or you can show them the red team results, or you can choose specific paths in red team where you understand that are more tricky, and you can point them to those directions. And those are things that you have to do all the time. Managing budget and preparing budget and asking for budget is a year-long process. It's not just a one-time thing.
Okay, let's talk a bit about day-to-day. How do we encourage our other stakeholders to prioritize what we want them to prioritize? For example, fixing a bug that is not on the roadmap. It wasn't anything that product asked for. we need to push it now outside of the pipeline, and we need to make someone else to do it for us. How do we do that? I mean, I used to have a saying that no critical is equal to, or is worth fighting with a dev team. Well, let's just keep our stable relationship, and we'll fix it later. If they're there's a very urgent feature that they need to release, let them walk, and then we'll fix even if it's a critical bug. What do you think about that? How do you do that?
I'm going to continue from there. I think that the one word that we've missed till now is trust. Is gain the trust of your stakeholders. They need to know that you will not push every time. You will push where things needs to be pushed. It's not every day, it's not on everything, but you do have those limits. And when you trigger that red alert, then they need to respond. And this is trust that you gain throughout the days. And I think that's very, very critical.
I don't know. I think when it's critical, then it's critical. If you do the right prioritization, and if you understand it's critical, it needs to be fixed, period. I'm not getting paid to absorb the risk if it's critical. I can reflect it and have the management agree if they want to absorb it. But if it's something that needs to be fixed according to agreed SLAs, meaning critical needs to be fixed between like 1 to 3 days, it needs to be fixed. Other things, let's say medium, even high, those are things that we can discuss, we can do negotiation, we can understand when and how we get into the sprints. But criticals, I usually don't have any spare change for that.
I think it's the same, like you said, it's the risk versus control framework. You do need to show them the risk. You need to show them the control and the solution. Now, not always you cannot convince them always that the risk is worth the investments. So over here, it comes all the part of the storytelling, bring examples, to know how to talk to their language, and especially examples to show them what are the risks and why is it crucial to prioritize it. It's a work. You need to work on it, and it's the trust that you build as well. They need to trust you in order to believe you. Whenever you come to them, immediately they need to give you the answers already, to agree to whatever you need.
So I agree with what Dikla said about trust and what you said about risks, but I think it's all to have a culture and to have a relationship with those that needs to fix the bugs, if that's developers, if it's DevOps, if it's whatever technical skills that you need. So you need trust to build this relationship. You need to communicate the risks. You need to communicate them well. You need to assess the risks the right way, and then gain the trust. So creating this relationship, and again, for the long way, trust takes time to be built. So after gaining this trust and after creating this relationship, you can push forward for a non-critical bug as well, if it's important as well, and not, 10 CVSS score.
Do you want to disagree, Neil?
Of course I want to disagree, but I can't. I want to so bad. Yeah, I think nobody can disagree that trust is important in building relationships. The question is how, because this is about skills, right? How do I do that? How do I create the trust? Because the beautiful thing about relationships with people is if they feel like it, then they'll help you. All you have to make them is feel like it, so a high critical, critical is easier because, for instance, Rapyd's PCI, DSS, it's very important for us. Visa and MasterCard is very important for us. So if, according to PCI, critical needs to be fixed within 30 days, that's just how it is. So you build, just the railway is there, you just have to drive. But when it's not exactly there, or when they want to do a really dumb solution, because a lot of times the dev is like, I'll fix it in the dumbest way possible. And then I just my eyes are bleeding from reading the JIRA ticket. Like seriously, like drops of blood from the stupidity. And then that's where trust isn't enough, and there you have to have influence, trust-based influence, but influence. And again, we go back to the well that never stops giving, is what are they up against? For instance, if you know the sprint and the sprint structure of the dev, and you know what he's up against and the pressure and the business pressure, and you go to the TPM if you have a technical project manager, or to the product manager, whoever is kind of breathing down their neck, and you connect with them, and you just do a lot of back channeling, and then you come very, very planned and like, okay, I know you got a crazy sprint, and I know you're up against everything, and blah, 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 blah. And, and, you never want to say but, because you know, that's another skill. Never show your butt, they say. And this is what we need, and this is why it helps you later, et cetera, you can maybe convince. If that doesn't work, you bribe them. So I'm very fortunate, I'm the CIO of Rapyd as well. So for instance, everybody who helps me, I give them a course or a license. I'm like, here you go, you deserve it. Or now there's Cloud Code, that's the newest thing, devs love, and they get it if they're nice to me. So bribery is really underrated as far as soft skills. If you can bribe somebody, you can bribe somebody, it works. It works 9 out of 10 times.
I want to comment another thing about that. Everyone speaks here about relationship, and I totally get it. And I think also this was my main approach when I was in Playtika, also here in BrainRocket. But I think at certain times you really need to be aggressive. I'm trying to think to myself if the GC or CFO would say to me, drop the budget right now, we need to cut, or at least there is some kind of a legal boundary that we need to force. I don't think they use like relationship building in order to claim that. And I think there are certain times and certain measures that we need to be dominant. CISO is a very hard position. Sometimes we need to make strict calls, things that will probably not find ourselves very likable. And we need to be in mind of that, because it's not all about like colorful pictures and hugs and stuff like that. We need to be sometimes dominant. And if not, we probably will keep reporting to CPO or even like head of development. We need to be in line with how we perceived.
Okay.
Let me just push back. I love being dominant. Man, I love it. Listen, I love it. I love trolling. You don't know, like, sometimes these VPs walk into my office, and I just want to shout at them, and I did it many times. One time I did next to my son. He's like, Daddy, why are you such a dick? He didn't say that, but that's what he said in, like, child speak. Anyway, it really, I was like, oh, my God, I got to get my life together. So every time you're dominant, do that, and you'll be effective. But if you use trust-based influence and empathy, you'll be 10 times more effective, 100%. Every time, yeah, and it's so tempting. It's like the dark side's calling me, like, just be dominant, just do it again, just knock on their head, just you know, put them over a barrel and kick their ass, and it feels so good, right? It feels so good, and it works. But if you do it trust-based, it works so much better, so much longer, that once you start doing that, every time I do the dominant and just like, this is how it is, I'm like, okay, it worked, but it was fun. I loved it, but this is better. So just think about that.
Okay. Last question before we go to take a question or two from the audience, questions that I wrote, obviously. So I want to ask you, what is the single soft skill that works equally when you're talking to your CEO, a junior developer, and your kid?
Differentiating between primary and minor. So I don't know how to say it in English, עיקר טפל, but trying to understand what is like the main thing that we need to focus right now and drop the rest of the things. Just drop them. That's the main skill I can do even when I approach the CEO and when I'm expecting my team to talk up with me about things.
So I'll give you the ChatGPT answer. Start with a why. So I liked the answer, so you can all hear about it. So yeah, you can explain why to a junior, you should explain why to the board, the stakeholders in the management, and a developer. It depends on how you explain it, but you need to explain why. You need to present the road, so to get to the end of the road.
Don't take them to a tour. Just be clear. Clarity. Make sure they understand what you mean. Make sure that you're clear, and they'll get it.
Anat?
I think communication. communication skills. Everything involves communication, how to communicate, how to talk, how to act, with all levels, all stakeholders, communication.
All right. Do we have time to take questions from the audience?
Should I start singing? So I want to hear your perspective about, and this relates to soft skill, about understanding the business, trying to be empathetic to the business needs, and doing your job at CISO. How do you see the tipping point, and how you approach that? How do you approach this understanding? If it's clear what I said.
I can start. So understanding the business, it's a skill by its own. Because when when you become a CISO and you have this technical background or regulatory background on security, you don't have a business knowledge. So you learn about the business, you spend time with management, you're trying to understand the business risks and priorities, and not only the security risks and priorities, and where the business stands in its market. It depends on the market, it depends on everything. So that's the first thing you're doing. And then incorporating this to the security. So one thing I did, for example, is that when we have an incident, or when we need to manage an incident, I have two risk scores. I have the security risk score, the security threat that we're experiencing, and we have the business risk score. I'm also explaining and verifying with the other business stakeholders if I'm right with the business risk score. And it can be a low security risk and a high business risk score, and the other way around. And managing that and having the whole picture all together help us to prioritize better our actions. So that's my take on it.
Last one.
I think from my perspective, it's always a matter of negotiation and trying to find the common grounds. So I think for starters, there is never a no for a business, because we're here just to serve the business. So for every request, there should be some kind of a security support, whether it's a control, whether it's a regulation, whether it's some kind of a policy. You need to find the one solution that you can feel comfortable in allowing the business to continue doing what it's doing. And from that point, once you realize and understand, it's all about reflection of the risks. So I'm playing just the game of, it's like juggling, trying to find where I feel comfortable with and allowing the business to continue doing what it's doing. And from that point on, it's just, wrapping everything with controls.
All right, so our time is up. Thank you very much, dear panelists. Thank you very much, audience.